How do we know we're live? I assume something happens.
It should say live up in the top corner.
It says in broadcast. Oh, live up in the top corner up there. Okay.
Yeah,
There we go. We have one person watching apparently. Who's
we're
that?
so professional. That's probably me because I just logged on to the live stream.
Ah, gotcha. So we're talking to ourselves. I don't know if anybody's going to join us. Let's see.
Well, better than talking to nobody.
Oh, well, now there's like recorded history of what we're talking about, so that could be sketchy.
Better make it count.
Yeah, exactly. Do. Apparently, I got one person watching. Nice.
Well, like I said, that's probably me because I just logged on to the live stream to make sure that we're there.
Ooh, now we're getting some feedback.
From who? From me?
No, for me. I just forgot to mute it.
Ah, there you go. Now we got two people watching. We're watching ourselves.
Excellent. Ooh, fancy. I'm going to close that before it breaks something. So how goes the Yugo? You got to take it apart yet?
No. That is a this weekend project. I've got it in the garage, and I don't know what I was thinking when I decided to back the Yugo into the garage because I truly believe that the Echo has to come apart first.
I would think so, yes.
Yeah, to
At least
start.
the Yugo moves under its own power. Right.
Yep. Yeah. In fact, I put the battery back in it tonight and touched the gas pedal to set the choke and turned it over. It barely cranked over 3 times, and it just took right off.
Perfect.
Then I went out and did the same thing to the, of course, no choke on the Echo, but cranked it up, started it up, no issues at all. So I just got to get those two cars swapped out and get the Echo into the garage. Start taking some fundamental measurements as far as geometry goes.
So is the plan to take the subframe, the whole kit and caboodle? Is that the plan?
Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and drop the subframe out from underneath the Echo and keep the engine and trans, axles, struts, everything except for the steering, of course, all together. And then once I get that done, I can decide how much butchery has to take place within the Yugo to make it fit. In a previous video, I think I mentioned that I only have, like, we're talking a couple of inches difference in width, track width,
right,
between the two vehicles. So I think it was 5 inches, so that's 2.5 per side that we've got to make work somehow.
So which is bigger? I assume the Echo.
Echo's bigger a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
So again, I don't know really where to start and what to do. I've never done it. There's a couple of guys out there that have, but
has anyone just done a straight engine swap, bolted it up to the existing transmission, and called it done? No, it's full on engine.
It's full on everything, yeah. So
okay,
because of the position of the booster, the brake booster, it's got to move. You got to physically relocate it.
Right.
Which I don't think is going to be terrible. And the engine and transmission itself will fit within the wheel wells, but there's going to have to be some restructuring within the Yugo, because I don't think they're built for that kind of horsepower.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, what were they new? 65, 70?
50, 57, I think.
Okay, well, so like an old air-cooled Volkswagen.
Yeah. And then the Echo stock is 108. So
right.
Just about double, almost double.
You don't think the communist engineers did the, Mr. Scotty principle where it's, can take twice the amount of force before it breaks?
I don't know. I guess the only thing you got going for you is you got two communist countries working together on this one.
Yeah, true.
Right. You got the Serbians and the Japanese. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, feudal Japan. I had to trust the vehicle. I think I trust a Japanese vehicle for more than I would a Yugoslavian. But here we are.
every day of the week.
Yeah,
But tis what tis.
fair enough. Fair enough.
So what do we got on tap tonight?
What am I drinking?
Yeah.
I'm drinking a blackberry bubbly.
Oh, you're into the hardcore stuff tonight.
Yeah, and I have a Highland Park 12.
Highland Park.
And that was a birthday gift.
I'm
Oh,
not
Jason Rosh is here.
Jason Rock. Yep. So I don't know what this is. It's like a HU John Hops Light. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Anyways, it's a microbrew out of Fredericton.
Does it taste terrible? Because I find hoppy beer tastes terrible.
Well, even though it says hops, it's actually it tastes very it's like a very citrusy grapefruity taste.
Okay,
It's not horrible. I don't mind it.
awesome. I was a beer guy. Not too much of a beer person anymore. But my good friend Matt and his father brew a pretty good beer. Other Jason has Budweiser in his hand apparently.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Sorry, Dan. Yeah, what tap water had too much flavor, did it?
What? Yeah. But he is our one and only watcher at the moment. Thanks,
Okay.
Jason, for jumping over.
Hopefully, some more people join us.
Hard to say.
Yeah, well,
I gotta get these lights figured out, man. They just don't stay. It's like way
what?
too dark.
Oh, your lights. You need lights like I have. I have way better lights.
Way better.
Yeah, here, I'll just show you.
Oh, you got the RGB.
Yeah, they're like drama lights that you would use in a theater. I borrowed them because we haven't had theater in a very long time, so I borrowed them for live streams.
Jason's asking if I saw Nick's live the other day. I did not. He did a U on live. What's a me? Did he run out of gas? Yeah.
Zing.
On me, even, right?
Maybe about a Panther platform. That's pretty you.
That's pretty me. Ran out of gas on a square button. That's pretty me.
Oh, he says, "Yep."
Yeah,
So
he ran out of gas or something.
Classic.
Oh shoot! So I got a little bit of a haircut.
What's that? Oh yeah, I saw the was it Instagram short or whatever it was called? I don't know. Terms, social media terms.
Yeah, I asked her only to grab the gray ones.
Fine.
So
Mother Nature did mine for me.
Yeah. So you got no one to blame.
No. Jason said it was priceless. I imagine it was.
I bet. What makes it priceless is when reference is made to a certain somebody who has done it in the past. It gets brought up quite frequently. Even Jason Rock brings it up quite frequently.
Yeah.
I
have no gauge in my Eurovan. I just know when I need to fill it up.
You just know, eh?
Just know. Yeah. The diesel's very forgiving. Actually, I have my 1994 Audi 80 also has no functioning diesel gauge, and I've run out of diesel in that a few times. The worst was going uphill because it also doesn't have a parking brake. So I had to hop out and chock the wheels before it rolled down the hill.
Even the gas gauge works in the Yugo.
Yeah, but when you ask it out, does it have gas? It just says yes. Do you have gas? Yes.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yes, we have gas.
It's like the Trabant. The
Stupid.
Trabant just has a tank, and you have a dipstick to check your gas.
Yeah.
An
How
old
much
boat.
gas? How much gas? 13
And you gotta get
centimeters.
out. You gotta get out and check. You gotta pop the hood and screw the thing and take the dipstick.
Yeah, 13, 13 centimeters. Ah,
What's my real name? It's there in the video, Brian.
his real name is Ryan.
Yeah,
Right
because of
there.
the higher ends of the name.
Yep.
There's a
Yeah,
ya in between.
it's right there on screen, Jason.
Yeah. It's right. Nope. 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 There.
And in case you didn't know, my name is Jason. It's written right there.
No. Over. Oh, it's backwards on mine.
Yeah. Oh, you don't mirror your image, do you?
No, because my camera's a good camera, so it's not backwards to begin with.
Is mine backwards?
Yeah. No.
No.
Fuel injection.
See, if I point to you on my screen, I'm pointing this way. I bet you I'm pointing away
Oh.
from you.
I'm pointing this way if I'm pointing to you.
Yeah. See.
So what kind of things can we do here? Group layout. What's this do? Oh, it shows everything.
Shows everything.
What's
and you
this
can switch.
spotlight?
Yes, you can switch too. Like if you click on my camera and drag it, it'll switch camera positions.
Oh, I just full screened everything. Full screens. I can see like this is worth paying for. I like this. Oh. Let's go back to side by side here, so you don't see all the mess over there. There's a lot of mess over on that side of the room. But I do have car related things in here. If you notice over my shoulder, there's a
VW bus.
VW bus.
What year is that?
That one is a 68. 68, I think. 68 or 69.
When did they switch from air cooled to liquid cooled?
84 and a half, I think, or 84 on the nose. Air cool guys are going to punch me now. I know they're going to be very upset that I didn't know that.
Well, it's a good thing they're all watching tonight.
No, they're working on their Volkswagens because they're probably broken.
My other car is 10 Volkswagens.
Yeah. You saw the thumbnail for this live stream.
I did.
My other 10 vehicle cars are Volkswagens, and they were also broken. So, my buddy Craig made me a bumper sticker. Apparently, Jason figured out his stalling problem.
Yeah, he was having
a problem
quite a while ago.
I don't work on Volkswagen. Well, that's unfortunate.
He's got a Dodge Dakota.
Oh, he might be your friend soon. All in good time. So, have you had any really? Because you did the video on how terrible people are on Marketplace. Have you had any more additions to that? People messaging you or?
So one thing I have learned is when a lot of people will complain about getting the "is it still available" question.
Right.
And what I've learned is that if they're mobile users, when they go to scroll, sometimes if they touch the "is it still available" key, it'll send the message. So that doesn't necessarily mean they're interested. It just means they accidentally hit the button while they were scrolling. Yep. And you get a lot of that. I think that's where probably 90% of the "is it still available" comments come from. But I did have a fellow reach out to me from St. John. So St. John is about 100 kilometers from where I am, 60 miles.
So 75 Freedom Eagles?
Yeah. And so he's looking to, he's got an 06 Ford Taurus.
Ooh.
With less than 100,000 kilometers on it.
Oh, that's a very good grandma view.
If it's in decent shape, which he claims it is, he says it's in immaculate shape. I think that this vehicle would be a great vehicle video-wise, simply because I can kind of coin it as I traded my Lincoln Town Car for the best selling Ford car of the early 2000s type of thing.
It's not a really big mountain to climb there.
No, it's not, but Or I wouldn't even have to use Ford. I would say it could be the
Yeah.
most popular vehicle of the early 2000s.
Domestic vehicle, yeah, for
And
sure.
the camera pans over and it's a freaking Ford Taurus, right? So um, I would be
So what
okay with
lights were they still bubbly in '06, or had they gone to the new?
they were, but they didn't have the bubbly headlights. They had the different headlights and
Okay.
the kind of the squared off rear end on them.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a person driving around here in St. John's with a Topaz wagon. Yep, Topaz wagon. It's
yeah.
nice.
Um, and I would be okay with that trade,
It's a good trade.
but I wouldn't be coming ahead very far. It would be a small step because I think if that car was, I mean, if you don't know, I'm asking 4,500 Canadian for my town car. That car there with low mileage, if it's in every bit of good shape as he says it is with the low mileage,
Hmm.
you might crack the $6,000 retail price point,
On a
maybe.
good day, yeah.
Right? So you ask six, you might get 55, you might get 52 or four or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it wouldn't be a big step, but it would be a step forward. Um, this whole trade thing is certainly not what I thought it would be cracked up to be, but
A couple of weeks ago, I saw a 1986 Pony on the road. Wow.
I'd love to have a pony or a Stellar. Actually, I'd love to have a Stellar because the Stellars were rear wheel drive. So
What was
slap
the
something V8 in that sucker and rear wheel drive it. And
what was the first Hyundai? The Excel?
the Excel was the compact,
Yeah,
and then the Pony was the Excel was the subcompact,
right. It's the small one.
and then the Pony was the compact, and then the sub midsize was the Stellar.
Right.
Yeah.
I just remember they rotted. A friend of mine had one growing
Well,
up, and
they all did. They were
it
all
was
made
gone
of
within a week.
recycled beer cans from Czechoslovakia. I don't know where they came from, but
Hey, Justin
just
D. Morgan's here. Hello, Justin. Justin is one of my retro tech fellows. So I don't know if he is big into cars at all, but welcome.
we're just shooting the shit tonight, anyways. We're not really talking much.
Yeah, we're not talking about it then. But yeah, any other weird trades? Like I really like that G20 that you sent me. That was cool.
Yeah, yeah, that was really cool. Actually, probably it's probably not a G20. It's probably closer to like a G60 or something stupid.
Yeah, like just below a semi.
Yeah, yeah. Between that and that the Ford the Mercury Montego wagon,
That was nice.
that was pretty cool. And different people in the comments were saying that the wagon probably would be the better trade simply because once you get it kind of tweaked up a little bit and ready for another flip, it's probably more along the lines of something the masses may want versus great big gas guzzling whatever, right? So that's going to be a niche market. Even though I think it's cool, I certainly think the wagon would be the better
See,
trade.
that in my mind would have an Old Car Guy logo on the side of it, and you would
For
just have
sure.
it as a shop truck.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. But again, we're trying to. I've already got the shop truck. I've already got Dale the truck with with Olde Carr Garage written on the door.
Right.
We've already got that. Even though the bigger one would be kind of really really cool. I would. We're trying to trade up. Fox can fix it. Welcome.
That box is here.
Has joined into the live stream. Like I'd love to be able to just keep stepping up. A couple $2,000 or $3,000 at a time. Could I do that with the truck? Sure. If I put the truck, like my thoughts on that truck was lower it.
Yeah.
Put some big aluminum 20s or 24s or whatever they call them. I don't know what the style
I
is.
go super singles from a semi on it.
Yep.
Big.
Just some big, aluminum shiny wheels.
Yep.
Lower it down and flip it.
Yep.
Lowering kit, wheels, tires, flip it.
And a 12 valve Cummins because nobody wants to run that with a gas engine.
I agree, but that can be somebody else's project, right? Like again, I got to think of flipping. I got to think of if I go and I sink a 12 valve, I'm probably going to pay $2,000 to $3,000 just for the engine and transmission setup.
Right.
am I going to be able to make that up on the other end?
True. I
That's
mean, if
what you got
maybe
to
on
look
like
at.
Bring a Trailer or on one of those sites where you can sell
Yeah,
across the world.
maybe.
Right? But then you're dealing with a whole other pile of headaches.
Everything that's broken needs to sell RT logos.
Rusty objects. That's an awesome side.
So we've got another Jason in the chat, Streetcar Culture.
Oh, are all the
He's
Jasons
saying,
are showing up, which is
he's saying,
ironic because today is Friday the 13th
is it?
and
Oh,
Jason
shit.
Voorhees' day.
Yeah.
It's Jason Day.
Wow, we're getting all kinds. So Jason is saying good morning all because he's in Australia. So he's already
Oh,
into
hold on.
Saturday.
We'll help him out here. We'll just turn ourselves around so that he can.
Yep, welcome to the chat, Jason. And I'm pretty much guaranteed that besides Jason Voorhees, I'm probably the oldest Jason in the chat. So they're on the show tonight.
Fair enough.
Yep.
So, what else is new? What were we talking about? Oh, G30s or G90s or whatever they were.
Yeah. So that wagon, as far as I could tell, and the conversation that I had with the fella, yeah, I'm still older than you, Jason Rock. He said that the spare tire tub, which is common on wagons, was rotten out in the bottom, so you'd have to put a new tub in there. But as far as the floors go, the floors were solid. Interior, the seats needed to be redone, and the headliner was kind of the biggest thing with that. I mean, even though I love the Keystone tire wheels on it,
they were nice.
They were nice.
Hmm.
I think you'd almost have to go with probably something in the 18-inch range. Lower that car maybe an inch or two with the 18
American racing wheel.
Yeah, something
in that. Yeah.
And salt flats maybe, and just
yeah,
tint all the windows.
Yeah.
And you might spend $1,000 on wheels and tires, maybe another $300 or $400 in tires.
But would you get your money back if you threw up like something, do something nice with, like throw a FiTech at it, or make it a little bit more reliable for somebody who wants a turnkey car?
Yeah, you might, for sure. Yeah, but again, you're talking $1,200, $1,500 for a FiTech.
Right. Unless they sponsor you.
They could, but the way FiTech works for sponsorship is they don't give you a full sponsorship; they give you a discount.
Free money.
Either way.
Yeah.
So yeah, like again, you got to look at the end product. Whatever you decide to spend money on that car, are you going to get it back? So he was asking $6,000 for the car. So again, you got to assume that that's what you're going to pay for the car, regardless. Let's say we get a deal on it. Let's say we pay $5,000 for the car.
Yeah.
Right. You put the FiTech in. Let's say even with a discount, you spend $1,000. Wheels and tires, $1,500. So now you're into $7,500 cost. What can you retail this thing for, just with wheels 15? And tires and an EFI?
15, 16. Right.
I don't know.
Like, right. What's that car? Like, again, you look at Haggerty's. What's that car worth at, like, good, greatest Concorde?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's all dependent on the target market.
Yeah.
Right. Here in the Maritimes, yeah, you may only get $6,000 or $7,000 out of it. But if you target an audience due south, but then again, they're going to look at things like, okay, well, the spare tire well is rotten out, or it doesn't have a headliner, whatever. Again, I guess you got to find out where your market is and start high. As we can tell by the likes of Meekum Auctions and Barrett Jackson, shit is going ridiculously out of realm for me.
Right. Exactly. So, there's for every 10 people that can afford something at Barrett Jackson, there's 2,000 of us that can't. So they more likely buy something from you.
And even if you're buying something on a Tuesday, like that's the big days on Barrett Jackson, affordable cars that are going through there that are solid but need work.
Yeah.
So your Tuesday, Wednesday cars at Barrett Jackson are still sub $20,000 cars.
Yeah. Well, you look at Yeah, Hoovy put through his K5 Blazer. It was
Yep.
rusty. It had lots of patches in it. It was a driver. It wasn't a Concorde car. I still think it sold for like 50 something $1,000, right? Which is foolish.
Yeah. Well, is there any provenance at all to Hoovy's Garage being a Hoovy's Garage car? I don't know.
Maybe to the right buyer,
Maybe.
but
But if you're buying something and it's an old car guy, yeah, no.
no. I asked for a discount.
Exactly. How much are you going to pay me to take this thing? If I drop a GTO Judge, is it worth 1.1 mil and then an 82 Civic? Yeah, right? Like a vehicle is
But-
only worth what someone's willing to pay for it.
Right. But like Fox just pointed out, there's been Civics and stuff sold, like the Integra that sold last year. Low mile, like 92 Integra sold for like 200 grand. What world am I living in?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what the collector car market does over the next 12 months because the U.S. Used car market is on the verge of crashing. And when I say crashing, I don't mean fender bender. I mean, like, we're talking total write-off.
Dukes of Hazzard off the back of the truck.
Yep.
Into the Grand Canyon.
Into the abyss because, like,
Rest in peace.
like, I mean, we don't know who's going to be watching this in the future, but right now, if you all know who Carvana is, they're like the vending machine used car company out of the U.S. that recently bought out the biggest used car auto auction in North America.
Who they buy? Copart?
No, Odessa.
Oh, they bought Odessa. But
So
they're going bankrupt now, though, correct? Did I not read that recently?
Yeah, Carvana is going bankrupt. So where are all of their overpriced purchases going today?
Odessa.
They're going to go to Odessa. Where do guys like me, the used car dealer, buy their cars?
Right. Odessa.
So there's not going to be any deals there. The cars won't get sold. Carvana's going to take a shit kicking on their purchases that they bought 3 months ago.
Yep.
Because they paid top dollar. Now the market's tanked and the market will be flooded with used cars going to auction that nothing will sell.
Right. So you just bide your time.
I've got 6 used cars on my lot right now.
And how many do you average normally in like pre-COVID time?
25.
Right.
So
you're at a fifth.
The U.S. car market is going to apocalyptically implode soon. Exactly. You could have chosen a better word, apocalyptic.
But then my question is, will that take Canada's used market with it?
It will, because Canada usually follows the U.S. market within 6 months. So right now, the U.S. is currently on that. They're on that.
We're kind of
climax.
Flat, aren't we?
Yep. They're just starting on that downward trend, and within a month or two, the U.S. will be plummeting. They'll be like their curve will be straight down, and then by June, July for us in Canada, we'll be following that. Simply because right now, if I had to put a percentage on the number of used cars being sold in Canada, I would say 40 to 50% of them are going stateside,
100%.
or were going stateside.
Yeah.
So if the stateside market's already flooded, guess how many Canadian used cars will be going stateside now?
0. Which is good for us.
Kinda.
Used car buyers.
Kinda.
Right. Well, because you couldn't get, like here in Newfoundland, you can't get a used truck. All the used trucks get shipped to the States. So, unless there's a base model or something that's not going to perform well at the auction, you're either stuck with something with high mileage or something that's been shit kicked because it was a work truck, or you got to buy a new one.
Yeah. So for the last 2 years, I'm gonna say 3 years, the ability to go out and buy a decent $2,000 to $5,000 car has been non-existent.
Basically.
And right now, what currently is selling for 10 grand will be selling for 5 grand in the near future. So if you're watching this right now, or you're watching it in the after whatever,
In the
just
future.
know, yeah, future us. Yeah. So just know that if you don't have to buy a car today, don't.
Yeah. Well, that's smart for you. I mean, if you only have 6 cars on your lot, you're not going to take a bath. If you still had 25 on your lot, you'd take a bath.
Well, the used car dealer down the road from us has about 40 cars on their lot.
Yeah. And I've noticed that about dealers here, like our Volkswagen dealer is packed with used cars, more so than I've ever seen. So I'm, wondering if they're going to take a bath when this crashes. I hope not.
Yeah. Well, and street car culture makes another point too, is that if the EPA laws kick in, which in the US, they're trying to drown the used car market with EPA regulations, the custom car market with EPA regulations, all of a sudden, you're not going to see a lot of used cars 15 years plus. You're not going to see any of those. You're not going to be able to register those because of EPA laws. Gas prices are
Send them to
still,
Canada.
well, I don't know. Like we look at it, look at the Canadian price of gas today compared to the US. We're still higher.
And we're going to get to $8 a liter. Don't you worry.
Hey, the Bandit has joined us. Welcome, Bandit. And I don't believe his name is Jason, so we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, it's a tough time right now to be in the used car business. We've got some backdoor plans for 2023 as far as the used car market. It does not involve mainstream used cars.
Okay.
So we're trying to look at, maybe I go out and I bought like Townie Soprano is a perfect example. Bought that car, needed a little bit of work, and now it's ready for sale again. Okay.
Right.
It's 26 years old.
But some quick flips.
Quick flip.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a 1980 or a 1990 something. Maybe it's a 1960 something. Maybe it doesn't run, but the body's solid. Maybe it does run, but it's junk.
Right.
Maybe, like, I'm going to start targeting you guys as, people who aren't from here. I'm going to start targeting that different market for used cars, online marketing.
I mean, this week, $350 Grand Marquis, 2008. Good deal.
There you go.
And I messaged him. It's not a mistake. It is $350.
Right. So, which would be a great parts car if it's rotted out.
Right.
But if you're looking to buy something to flip, well, if you can't get it inspected because it's rotten.
Just wow them with a burnout. It'll be fine.
If it doesn't run, good body is the best. That's the place to start for sure. Like,
unless you live in Canada, in which case it doesn't run and the body is definitely shot.
Yeah. So the thing is if you can find that car, like my theory is if I can go south of the frost line.
1 second, my cat is making a lot of noise and wants to get in the room.
There you go. If you can look after things like if the engine and drivetrain is crap, but it's got a solid form, solid body, or good bones, well, then you could probably find yourself a buyer for something. They can fill it full of whatever they want, whether it's an LS swap, a Hemi swap, a Coyote swap, or it's old school. Just find another 350 or 302, whatever it happens to be. Bandit had a birthday last Friday when he was on Nick's Garage. Well, happy birthday, Bandit. Hopefully it's treating you well. Jason Rock, you were saying earlier you're 46. Well, I got you beat by a little bit. How many people do we have live here? I can't even see that stat. We got 5 people. Woohoo! 5 people watching. Yeah, Ryan's pretty. Ryan is a tech guy by trade. He's into modern tech IT stuff. But all those old computers that you see behind him, that's kind of a passion of his, is collecting all that old stuff, and like the old Commodores, the VIC-20s, the
Cat spray.
10, the cat spray. It's full of the good stuff.
Yeah, for example, this computer right here. No, down, over.
Your ear.
That one. That one with the screen. Oh God, why is it so hard?
There you
There we
go.
go. That's a Hyperion. That is a Canadian product. That was built in Ottawa.
Who's got
And
two
one of the first
5 1/4s?
IBM clones. So cool piece of Canadian history.
And it's got two 5 1/4s on it.
It does. Well, it did. They're not in there.
Yeah.
Most of them end up getting scrapped because they're more valuable than the computer, unfortunately. What's everybody saying?
The Bandit is almost 60. He just turned 59, I'd say.
One more year till I'm 60.
And his
He's turned 37. 37 is a good age. Not as good as 36 or 26 or 16
or 46 even.
or 46.
I'm sure you'll let me know when you get there.
Probably. It's all downhill from here. Do you have an IBM 5100? I have an IBM 5130 or 5140. It's right next to me, actually. There. It was found in the cab of a cement truck. So it's a future project.
Dear Lord, is that a friggin' crank telephone?
Oh, yeah, it's a Commodore telephone.
Commodore, even.
Yeah, so fun little side story. For Commodore to be able to sell a dial-up modem back in the 80s, Canadian Bell, because they're a bunch of arseholes, wouldn't allow them to sell a dial-up modem unless they also sold a Bell certified phone with it. So that's actually a Nortel phone with Commodore written on the front of it. So that Bell got a little bit of the cheese from the sale. Stupid Bell. Anyway, please don't break my internet.
Well, I've been back on Bell now since I moved here.
Right.
We switched over to Bell to get fiber op, and we've got that split between the house and the garage, and I can't complain. I did a speed test earlier, and I was downloading at 46 and uploading at 49.
Perfect. I've signed up for the 2.5 gig. Hopefully, we'll get that shortly. But right now, I only have the 1 gig. I know it sounds weird. It's only 1 gig of internet. However, will I survive?
How will we survive? 56K.
Oh man, it's fun putting kids in front of computers and trying to get them to learn how to use them from 1995, and also add the delay of dial-up internet.
Yeah,
it's magical.
Yeah, so we want to check the weather. Okay, I'm just going to click the button. I'm going to go make supper, and I'll come back in 2.5 hours, and we'll see what the weather's going to be tomorrow.
Download this naked picture of Captain Janeway.
Yeah, right.
And in 15 minutes, I'll be back to see a boob.
Right. Yeah, it'll just be the top of the boob. You won't even get the nipple.
Yeah.
You can carry this for a minute. I gotta go take a leak.
Okay. Old man bladder.
No.
The 5100 is the time machine conspiracy computer, so watch out for people from the future trying to steal it. But what if I am someone from the future and I've already stolen it? Yes, working on Crown Vics is way easier than working on Volkswagens. Ask me how I know. Yeah, your parents would pick up the phone, and the internet would get disconnected. Mom, I'm on the internet. I remember those good old days. That was a lot of fun. No, it wasn't. So what's everybody working on this evening? Are we working on anything fun? I'm watching the chat to see if anybody's working on anything fun. What else we got around here I can show you guys? Let me see. What else is here? There's a couple of Commodores. There's a Commodore 64. It's a later revision, so it's kind of like a beige color. This one works. I've recently been inundated with Commodores, so I have quite a collection of them. They're like tribbles. Just kind of seem to keep populating themselves. Just posted another mechanic car ad. Translation YouTube short. I'm working on a case of beer. Those are lofty goals for a Friday night. Oh, I think Jason's on his way back. I can see his name tag moving there, which tells me something. The door is opened, or he's there. He is.
Yeah, it's the fridge door.
Ah, yes. I like VW. The 1800 engine was so easy to work on. My wife wants a VW bus. Yep, she might. And then you want a headache. Ask me how I know.
You know, at least you didn't buy one that was
Mine hit a moose.
freaking moose.
It's the most Canadian Volkswagen bus you can own.
Making any headway on that Touareg, by the way?
What's that?
Are you making any headway on the Touareg?
On the Touareg? Yep. My parts arrived, and then my wallet cried. And then I ended up having to buy 2 washers today at Volkswagen. 2 washers. How much do you think 2 washers cost me?
Oh, probably $10 a piece.
$28.
Holy jeez, man. Just lean your head down there for a second, like into the camera. Does it say sucker across the top of your forehead there? Or?
Nope, but there's a reason I don't have hair.
I own Volkswagens. What's my excuse?
All right. You're a used car salesman. It's a stressful job. But yeah, no, I've finally got the control arm out. That took literally 6 recip blades to get out. I don't know if anybody saw my $28 each. No, $28 total. That includes the King's portion. So it was like $22, and then the King wanted $8 for a Starbucks coffee or something. I don't know. So he got his part. Fuck the King.
I'll drink to that.
But yeah, how many VWs do I own? Like on paper or actually? the ones my wife knows about or doesn't?
Yeah.
Let's see. I have a 2010 Touareg. I have a 2010 Jetta, which is technically my brother-in-law's, but for all intents and purposes, I'll say it's mine. I have a 94 Audi 80. It's an Audi, but it's a Volkswagen. That was imported from France. That's actually a diesel Audi, which is kind of cool. I have a 1996 Volkswagen Eurovan, which we TDI swapped. So it started its life as a 5-cylinder gas engine with 1 cylinder missing. So it was consuming a lot of oil. So we did a diesel swap. Seemed more economical than constantly putting oil in it. Actually, funny story. Anybody driving behind me, there was literally an oil smoke screen, and they had to use their windshield wipers, but it wouldn't actually. It would just be a big screen. I was like, "Oh, it's like a James Bond van."
So, quick question: Did that Volkswagen that got imported from France, was it imported from France, or from Saint Pierre?
No, France. So I bought it off a professor who worked at the university here. He was a Scottish fellow. He lived in France for a while, and he brought it here when he came here to teach. But I have like a stack. I actually should scan it. I have a stack of service records from it. It has over 500,000 kilometers on it, and it's been everywhere. I have like Audi certified like work done in Syria from an Audi dealership in Syria on it. It's driven all over Iraq, Iran, Syria, all the way through the Middle East, all the way through Eastern Europe, into Russia. Like, it's pretty cool. It's definitely, and then for it to end up in Newfoundland in Canada seems like a weird place for it to die, but that's where it came to die.
That's why I asked if it came from actually France or from Saint Pierre, because if it's, from what I understand, Saint Pierre, all their vehicles are imported from Europe.
From Europe, yeah. Although some of them do buy them here. There's a new law that allows them to buy domestic vehicles and register them in Saint Pierre, even though if they're not sold in France or they're not up to the European safety spec.
Right.
There's a really nice Peugeot pickup truck in St. Pierre in a guy's yard, just rotting into the ground. But it's a really cool. I think it's actually just a rebranded Nissan, but it's
Right.
Peugeot brand. It looks like a Nissan hard body, but like an early '70s hard body type design. So it's got like um, fold down bedsides and a fold down tailgate. But yeah, I've seen several pictures of it, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool rig. Be fun to have. And there's a Mazda pickup truck over there that's got a rotary engine in it. It's a Mazda, I guess, early '70s or early '80s Mazda pickup truck with a rotary, which is kind of cool.
It would be cool because rotary engines are synonymous with Mazda.
They brought them back.
Yeah, for sure.
The new EV.
Yeah. The bandit is asking me, how's the Yugo Beast doing? So as it sits right now, both the Yugo and the Echo are in their stock basically configuration. Tomorrow, I'm hoping to get the Echo into the shop, get some measurements on it, and hopefully start unplugging and tearing and jarring and welding and torching and everything to get the engine transmission with the struts in place so that I can know exactly where the measurements have to be to get them into the Yugo. That's the plan, is to use everything suspension, drivetrain wise in the Yugo from the Echo. That way, if you ever blow a strut, then you can just look up the cost of a strut for 2005 Toyota Echo, and parts will be very readily available for those, for sure.
Is it wider or is it the same width?
The Echo is wider by about 5 inches, so you're talking 2.5 inches on each side.
Oh, that's
So
perfect. You know what you got to do now?
You got to figure out the geometry somehow, or start modifying.
Wide body Yugo, like a wide body Porsche. Bigger fender flares. Problem solved.
Yeah, so EFI or carb? Well, definitely EFI. That's kind of the way to go, because ultimately the plan is to turbo this engine. And I mean, stock they came with 108 horsepower, and I know that 200 horsepower is not out of realm. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking about an 1,800-pound car, 200 horsepower is a lot. So it should be a pretty fun car to drive with a turbo.
You're going to be fighting torque steer right into a tree.
Well, sure, but
you're going to be smiling the whole time, so it's fine.
Oh yeah. If that's one way to go, that's one way to go. Yeah. So wide body, yeah. So I mean, the option is there, and I mean, as much as I hate to cut this Yugo up, I'm not afraid to.
It's a Yugo.
I'm not afraid to wide body it. I mean, when was the last time you saw a wide body Yugo? When was the last time you saw a Yugo? So if we wide body this thing, it's just going to be one more thing that sets it apart from something else on the internet.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Right,
and then put some big slicks on the front of it. And
remember back in, well, you probably remember because you used to watch a lot of older TV, but when they used to take the Audis, the A4s, when they wanted to wide body them, all they would do is they would just basically slice the fender, pull it out, and weld in a strip of 2 or 3 inches of metal in there, and they'd have a wide body A4 Quattro to do rally with.
Or when they wanted to put a W12 engine in a Volkswagen Golf, they cut it down the middle and added 4 inches
all the way through,
right in the middle.
Yeah, so we could do that, or we could just fatten out the fenders. I'm thinking fattening out the fenders is probably the way.
That brings up the next question: are you going to put the stub axles from the Echo in the back, so you have the same bolt pattern, or are you going to run 2 different bolt patterns?
No, I'm not going to run 2 different bolt patterns, because on the Yugos are very unique as far as bolt patterns.
1 by 104. Okay.
98. Yeah, 4 by 98. So
my Audi is 4 by 108.
Right, and the Echo is 4 by 100.
Right,
I believe so. 4 by 100 is a lot more common because they use that right straight through the whole Echo Yaris platform.
They did, yeah.
and a lot of other like your Citroen, your Peugeot, like in Europe,
Yeah.
they're all the same. They're all 4x1, 4x100.
Yeah.
So the to be able
All
to
the
upgrade,
early Volkswagens from Mark 1 to Mark 3 were all 4x100.
yeah. So to find wheels for them are going to be a lot
Yeah.
easier and cheaper to find wheels and stuff for that. So
And
that
also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Haltech, who sponsor Mighty Car Mods now, they just came out with a big video recently about they went through the Haltech. They do standalone ECUs now for Echoes and Yaris's.
yeah. So
So,
if you guys followed Mighty Car Mods for any length of time at all, you'll know that, oh, geez, probably 3 years ago now, they did a whole series on upgrading the stock 1NZ of the Echo, the 1.5. They went to the 1.82ZZ.
right.
Uh,
Out of a
and
Corolla.
out of a Corolla,
Yeah.
and just really woke that car up. And then of course they turboed it and upgraded the fuel system, all that stuff. And Haltech was one of the big things then before they were even a partner. So that is something that I'm going to have to do, I think, before I
I mean,
consider.
without pissing off Phytech, I mean, reach out to Haltech. They may be interested in the
Well,
project.
that's the thing. Phytech does not offer standalone services for other,
Japanese cars, yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
Haltech does. There's several other out there that do, and I think Haltech is probably the route to go, unless you decide you want to do a complete something or other out of something. But I think Haltech is the way to go to offer your own tuning and tuning support from them.
Yeah. I think the only downside there is they're Australian.
It's no drawback, I don't think.
I'm hoping.
Oh, you're hoping that streetcar culture is still in the chat there. I don't think he is. He hasn't been in for a while.
Wallaby attack probably, or kangaroos assaulting, or I don't know, snakes.
Yeah.
Everything tries to kill you in Australia.
Kangaroos with boxing gloves.
How much are VW buses going for these days? The bandit asks. It depends. Fluffy, the comedian, the Mexican comedian, he just bought another one at Barrett Jackson last year. I think he paid like 300 grand for it.
Oh,
So,
Julio, not Julio
yeah,
Iglesias.
Grace, the hell's his name?
Iglesias
Iglesias. Thank you.
is his last name. I forget his first name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Fluffy.
He's hilarious. But he has a huge Volkswagen collection because that's what he grew up in Mexico. Volkswagens have a huge following. But yeah, he just bought another one. I think it was a 23 window split window bus. I don't actually think it was a real 23 window. I think it was actually a manufactured 23 window, and it still went for like $5 grand. Gabriel, yeah, there you go. Jason just posted it there.
Yeah,
I actually watched his special on Netflix like 2 days ago. It was awesome. Way back when, yes, I remember when they put they made the sleeper Volkswagen bus or Bug. Mighty Car Mods did. That was good. You can fit a Subaru, flat four into a Volkswagen fairly easily. Lots of people do.
But why would you?
Well, I mean, it's like you got the most unreliable car with the most unreliable engine.
Hey Ryan, I want to replace the head gaskets in my Volkswagen next year. What would I possibly put in it for an engine? Oh, a 2.5 Subaru. Sure, let's go and do that because we're smart.
Boxer engines are not known for their reliability. I mean, ever.
And don't get us wrong. Boxer engines in a Subaru or a Porsche are not known to be 100% reliable.
Like they're a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. Sean, my counterpart,
sure. And probably outside of the whole V8 realm of engine sounds, probably the most sounding engines out there. Just don't expect to get more than 40,000 clicks out of an engine before you get for head gaskets.
It's funny. I have an antidote. The one thing I'll say is Sean has a 2013 Subaru STI WRX QXZ 7435, whatever. I don't know. It's blue and it has a big built engine, but it's got a built engine and the thing hauls ass. Now, when it does, the problem is, like all Subarus, it hauls ass, but then everything in the interior squeaks. It's like a 1990s GMC inside. Everything squeaks. um, but it's a fun car. It's really fast. He's got it tuned. He's done a lot of really good work to it, and it's a hoot to drive. Um, but I expect it to blow up at any point. Just it's. And I think he does too. He knows that eventually it will blow up. There will be a time it'll just blow up, and it is what it is.
But they
Um,
sound amazing
they do.
when they're
Like where
wound
he
up.
lives, you can hear his car coming from miles away. It's great. But it's funny. One of the guys at work has a Subaru. I want to say it was like 2010. Anyway, we were talking before Christmas about a Subaru. I said, "Oh yeah, have you had any problems with it? They're notorious for stuff." He said, "Oh yeah, it's consuming a bit of coolant." I said, "Oh, you probably literally have head gasket gone." He's like, "Yeah, my mechanic thinks that too." So they tested. He said, "Well, it didn't. He topped up the coolant and it didn't go anywhere." And anyway, after Christmas, he comes to me and he says, "So I put a new engine in my Subaru." I was like, "What a great story." No. I roared. I thought it was the funniest thing.
How dare you?
But on top of that, I mean, they're so readily available because they blow up so often. Actually, sorry, there's two parts. Young hoonigan teenagers put them into trees in reverse. So there's lots of engines that have like very little mileage on them to swap in the ones that blow up head gaskets.
And for those of you who don't
It's a good
watch,
ecosystem.
for those of you who don't watch Donut Media, go back and watch one of their most recent episodes where they bought two identical cars, two Subaru Legacy, whatever they're called, Impreza, I guess. And they said we're going to do a high build and a low build. So one, they would add the cheap eBay turbo. One, they would add a Garrett turbo. One, they would put the big expensive suspension on. One, they would put the cheap suspension on. Anyways, that last video showed that between the two cars in the series of, I think, 5 or 6 videos, they replaced 5 engines.
So it doesn't
So,
matter.
like, that one video alone puts every stereotype of Subaru whatever into perspective.
So Justin just said there, I'm on my second set of head gaskets. I had them replaced at 90,000 miles.
Sorry, buddy.
Sorry.
Yeah, start saving for the next set.
Yeah. Did you do your timing belts at the same time? Because it's a double-edged sword. So if you don't do them, the engine might still blow up.
So,
No.
remember the Neon?
Yep.
And when the Neon came out with
John's here.
dual overhead cam in their 2-liter engine, when those things got wound out, they sounded very similar to the Subaru 2.5 boxer engine.
Why was that?
They sounded really, really good. They weren't great engines, but when they got wound out, that dual overhead cam, man, what an impressive sound that they made.
And which one was the cheap? Which one was expensive? I think both of them had to fail. They both had to replace engines on both the builds. Didn't matter whether it was cheap or expensive.
Yeah, they did.
Justin had the belt replaced at the same time. Good. You get lots of life out of the Subaru. Like, it's no problem to get 100,000 kilometers out of the Subaru. The key, it's like a Volkswagen. You just got to do your maintenance, and nobody wants to do maintenance. Yep. So that's why they all fail.
And I don't know when or if the head gasket has ever been looked after. If they are the new cars still suffering with head gasket issues in these boxer engines, or
I don't know. Honestly, I think the boxer engine's days are numbered. I think all these problems we're having, and this is just an assumption on my part, is that we've reached the engineering pinnacle of boxer engines. You can only have a piston that's only getting half lubricated. You can only produce so much power from that before it fails, right? Like, you look at the Volkswagen buses, they were 30, 40, 50, 80 horsepower at most, right? And those engines last 100,000 kilometers, and then they blew up.
Well, I mean, you take an engine that's not getting lubricated, you can still run it for a while. Right. So you take a Subaru, you're running it half lubricated, half overheated. For 100, 150,000 kilometers.
Now I know there's like upgraded oil pumps you can get that do a better job and all that. And you know, like Sean's engine that he has in his car now is very well built. But the point is, somebody had to spend, you know, probably the value of the car building the
Right,
engine.
right. But I don't believe you can outbuild the head gasket issue on a Subaru engine.
Possibly not, especially when there's a turbo involved. If
Yeah,
it's the non-turboed one, I think those engines last a lot longer. I think it's once you add the equation of boost.
yeah. Well, I think the Boxster engine period is a horrible design.
Highland Park 12. My
Does that
birthday
say,
recently, my good friend Matthew gave me this for my birthday.
does
It's a
that say
lovely scotch. Justin, I've had problems with the Subaru box engine that was in coolant sits in the gasket because of the horizontal nature of the engine. Yeah, so that makes sense. And it finds its way through the gasket. It's, you know, maybe if they O-ring the block like they do with the diesels, maybe that would fix the problem. So instead of running a head gasket, they're running an O-ring.
maybe
I
they
don't
just
know,
LS
maybe.
swap it.
What's that?
Maybe
Just
they just
LS swap.
LS swap it.
That's also a possibility.
That'll permanently fix that head gasket problem.
Oh, then you've added a whole other pile of problems.
John
Lifters. We don't need lifters.
says that the neon was incredible, and they were. Uh, were they a POS? Sure.
Did you get a different neon in the States than we got in Canada? Because I don't remember.
Well, John lives in John lives in Illinois, so he's in the Rust Belt. He gets the rusty ones too.
Fair
I've
enough.
owned two. I've owned two 97 neons.
There's a guy driving around here who's got like an SRT neon.
Yeah.
It's got like a big hood scoop on it. Kind of looks like a Subaru.
Yeah.
That's cool. It makes a fun noise, but it's
Well,
still
and
a
they
neon.
and they do. So years ago, I took my Chrysler Cordoba to a car show, and they had a live chassis dyno.
Okay.
And a car on the dyno, it made 219 horsepower at the wheels. I got beat by an SRT neon. That did like 234 horsepower at the wheels. Like,
But your car, you hit the tree backwards, so you're smiling the whole time.
yeah, for sure.
His car, he sees the tree he's going to hit and he cries.
Yeah.
So, you know, Jeremy Clarkson wasn't wrong about front wheel drive versus rear wheel drive. Oh my God, Grant's here, and he says, "Can the world even handle two northeastern Canadians on a podcast?" I'm surprised they can understand us.
Right?
What?
Hey?
Hey, what? Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you know, we're going down to the shorter.
Oh, yeah, we're
going
going we just sit here.
have a drink there.
Hold it, hold it.
Chili, potato, and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah,
It's just place. Everybody's like, "Are they speaking in tongues?" The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. I need an old priest and a young priest.
Oh, shit.
The SRT4 can be fun and fast with mods, but at the end of the day, it's like guys who hop up a Civic. It's still a Civic.
Well, but Civics have earned their rank, right? They've earned their rank in that realm of best cars on the planet.
Sure.
The neon was never even considered.
No.
Ever.
No, ever.
Never has, never will.
But I would argue, you know, how many people learn to drive on a brand new Civic versus learn to drive on a shitty old neon?
Yeah, and those ones driving the shitty old neon are still the ones driving new
Civics
Compasses.
Oh, sure.
Right? Like,
yeah.
They graduated to an all-wheel drive, sure, but it's still the biggest POS on the freaking market.
Well, it's kind of like growing up. I remember in high school, a lot of the guys, you know, in my school, I went to a private school, so there was some money. You know, kids had cool cars and stuff, but most of the guys I knew drove Toyota Corollas, Dodge Intrepids, the Chrysler version of a Dodge Intrepid, whatever that was called. Concord, yeah. Like, you know, I remember these boats of cars. That was what they drove.
Yep.
I think it's because their parents realized that if they gave them anything fast, they would be gurning stupid grin deaths into a tree. Actually, growing up, I don't know if he's probably not watching, but one of my very good friends ended up in our local water supply with his 1993 Toyota Corolla, and the city attempted to sue him for having to clean up his Corolla in the water supply. He says he fell asleep at the wheel. I'll plead the fifth and not say what I think actually happened.
That sounds like a song.
Drive a Dodge Stratus or Intrepid, I guess. Do they have straight sixes in Dodge Stratuses?
Plymouth Breeze. Yeah, so one of the things that John was telling a story about one time was he used to be, of course, he was in the body shop, auto body collision for years. And when he worked at the Dodge dealership, he had to go to school to learn about these new Dodges that were coming out back in whatever year it was, 19, I think, was it, John, correct me if I'm wrong, 94?
Back in 1854, we learned about the Dodge Neon.
For the new to be released 95 Dodge Neon, and he had to learn all about it. That was pretty cool. And there was so much hype as a kid growing up. I graduated high school in 94, so that was when the Neon was really being blasted on the TV commercials and everything. There was just so much hype on this car, and I can remember that as a teenager. And they came out, and then you saw them in the showrooms and on the car lots. You were like, wow, that's that car I saw on TV. And to find out that years later they would become one of the biggest POSs on the face of the planet. Who knew?
I mean, hindsight being what it is, it's not like the writing wasn't on the wall.
I mean, they did follow the, what was it? Of course, it was the K car that kind of started that series.
Yeah.
And the K developed into the Sundance and
right.
Shadow.
Yeah.
And then from there, they developed into the Neon.
And the Intrepid, I guess, came around the same time.
Well, it was the Neon. I guess it was a Neon no matter what brand it was, wasn't it? It was a Dodge, Chrysler, and Plymouth Neon.
Yeah. I don't think they had a different name. Wow.
Yeah.
Chrysler was in bad financial state. We're like, boss, we can't even afford a new name tag.
Yeah, we can't even call it a new name. Let's just call it the same thing.
We've printed these documents. They've got to be the same. Oh, man. So here's a question I'm going to pose to everybody. Cletus at the Freedom Factory has been using up the world supply of Panther platforms pretty quickly. What do you think his next platform is going to be? Because at some point he's going to run out, even though they've sold so many of them. I think he's still it seems as though he's having trouble finding even Panther platforms now. Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Ford Ranger because he's already kind of dumped into the Ford Ranger thing.
True.
A little bit. So if we're taking the Ranger and the Panther platform kind of out of that realm, I truly believe the Panther platform will be around for quite a while in Cletus's world. Okay. You got to figure they made so many of these things over the years, but I really think if they're looking to stick with rear wheel drive, they're going to move into probably the Dodge category of the
Chargers, Challengers. Yeah. That makes sense. And those are so cheap now because I watch. I don't know if you watch. Oh God, what's his name? He's in New England. I can see his face. He goes to all the auctions. He buys police
cars and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, he was talking about the Caprice. The Caprice is a fantastic car, right? 6-liter LS, right? But nobody bought them, right? Australian built. They're Holdens essentially.
Yeah.
I think they're Commodores or.
They were mainly built for fleet anyway.
Right.
They weren't built for consumers. So Joe Blow couldn't walk in and buy a brand new 2013 Caprice. They were fleet only, rentals only, basically. But yeah, they were quite a wagon.
Right. Like they're a cool rig, but again, I don't know if there's enough of them to actually warrant a race series. Right? I don't think you'd.
Maybe not. Like again, you look at the whole reliability aspect, and just like any GM, once they get 100,000 kilometers on them, they're pretty much useless. They're pretty much born with the check engine light on.
Well, that's the
Having said
emission
that,
bullshit.
they've got one of the best engine platforms on the planet.
Once you control, I'll delete the emissions.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mugsy
that seems to
Dave.
actually be the problem. Is if you look at a lot of those, I don't know if you've experienced it when you've been at Odessa or Copar, but the those vehicles seem to all have like what do they call it? Cylinder deactivation seems to ruin the engine.
Yeah.
Right, they have lifter problems and ticks, and the only way to fix it is either rebuild the engine or put a new engine out.
Well, like my young fellow just recently bought an '05 crew cab GMC. It's got the 5.3.
Sorry for you.
It's also got the piston slap and the lifter tick.
Perfect. Like, fire the Lucas in it, call it done.
That's right. 50% Lucas, 50% 1040. There you go.
Yeah. It's just anyway. It's like the Touareg. So going back to what people are saying about my Touareg, so the 90% of the problems I've had with that car, it's a beautiful car. I will. It is a nice place to be. It is some say it's the German Panther platform.
No.
No, it's not.
No.
But it's a very nice place to be. Very comfortable, saddle leather seats, heated, cooled, whatever. But the problem with it is the emission system. That's everything. Only time I've ever had problems with is the DEF errors, or the diesel particulate filter fills up, or the catalytic converters have problems. So the easiest way to fix those problems is, now that I'm out of Dieselgate warranty, is just to get rid of them. Hit a pothole and have them fall off. It was terrible.
So Fox says that he thinks Cletus should use the Ford Escape platform because they are numerous and garbage. So
yeah,
I want to speak to that for a second. So numerous, yes, absolutely, they are numerous. But the drivetrain was shared with the Ford Fusion, and with that 3-liter, and those engines are tough as nails.
Yeah. Once you get past the first couple of years of EcoBoost, they're pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't buy an EcoBoost Mustang or anything, because anybody who buys an EcoBoost Mustang must be soft in the head.
He's talking to you, Grant.
I think Grant's logged off. Grant has left the chat.
Yeah. Well, to argue that a little bit, I do believe that the EcoBoost is something that Ford has kind of nailed down.
They have.
We've got several customers out there. There he is. We've got several customers out there with 3.7. I'm sorry, not 3.7, the 3.5 EcoBoost in the Ford F-150s, and they are really panning out to be fairly decent engines. We've got them out there with 300,000 and 400,000 kilometers, so we're talking 200,000 and 300,000 miles on these engines without replacing the turbos. Yes, Ryan, go ahead. You have a question?
I have a story. First off, I'm going to say hello to Mike. Mike's a buddy of mine, Mike Barrington, stand-up comedian, very funny. Follow on Instagram. Anyway, Mike has and we'll all give him the most piles of sympathy we can apply to him. He has a Ford Squeak-a-Knox.
Oh, geez.
Or no, sorry, Chevy Squeak-a-Knox.
Chevy.
But his Squeak-a-Knox last year had a funny issue, which apparently is common in northern climates with that particular Ecotec engine. I guess the crank builds up with water condensation. It freezes and blocks the PVC bypass, and it literally blew his rear main seal off the back of the engine. And we're not laughing at you, Mike, because it was a terrible time. But what a terrible design.
Later,
to sell in Canada. But apparently, if you look it up, northern climates, it happens very regularly, and Chevy is just whatever, figure it out.
Yeah, we don't buy GMC Terrains or Chevy Equinoxes with the 2.4 or 2.5
Yeah,
or whatever the engine is, just
two
simply
four, I think it
because
is.
they're oil consumers.
Yeah. I mean, other than the rear main seal piss and oil, the thing ran fine. Just you can't drive around piss and oil everywhere. Ask me how I know.
Muggsy Dave is asking a question: how many cars do you have?
Who, me? Too
Well, it's a
many.
general question. I think it's for both of us, maybe.
Okay. Personally, I own. Uh, all right, we'll run down the list. My daily driver is a 2010 Volkswagen diesel Touareg and a 1996 Volkswagen Eurovan that's diesel swapped. Then I have a 1994 1994 Audi 80 TDI, which is a front wheel drive diesel 5-speed manual. I have a 1990 Ford Ranger, which may or may not get a diesel swap, or I may just sell it because it's a Ford. I have a 2001 Chevy 3500 Cube van, which I bought for fun.
Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch. He's got a 6.5 turbo diesel on it, and that's about the most reliable part of that vehicle. And that's saying a lot because it's not very reliable. And I have a 1973 Volkswagen Westphalia camper van. And I feel like I'm missing one. Oh, 2010 Jetta. And I'm almost own. I almost own. I haven't paid the money, but it's mine if I want it. A 1968 Dodge Polara. So,
Well, that's the one you were showing me last year.
yeah. So it's there if I want it. If not, it's going to get crushed. So
Go get it.
yeah, for $1,000, I really can't say no to it.
Jason Rock. Later, we'll have a good time.
Hey, Jason.
Again, we don't know exactly who the question was directed at, so I'm going to answer mine. I've got a 77 Chevy C10. I've got a 79 Chrysler Cordoba. I've got an 87 Yugo, an 04 Mercury Grand Marquis, 97 Lincoln Town Car. That's everything that I own personally, but I'm a used car dealer, so I get quite a few extras kicking in around. Oh, the 05 Echo is mine as well.
So, question on that: have you taken it for its last run? Are you going to like play nice music for it and then attack it with a sawzall?
No, I hadn't planned on it, but I probably could. The battery is now charged, and it does start on its own. I got to pump up one of the tires, but I certainly could do that as kind of a last hurrah in its natural form or natural state. But the Echo is ready to go under the knife.
Sin. So cows eat grass asking, can you show the Atari in the back? Now, as far as I know, there's no Atari behind me, but I mean, this room is full of junk, so I don't know if there's actually. How many microwaves do I have? One. What kind of psychopath has more than one microwave? The only Atari is this one. It's an Atari 2600 with a copy of Venture.
Nice.
Jason, go all American Psycho on it. Put some tarps down and play Huey Lewis. Think about Huey Lewis in the news. Hold on, let me get my axe.
It's the power of love. Oh, wrong song. Sorry. It's hip to be square. Da, da,
So,
da, 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 da.
The thing about Huey Lewis in the news. What's your favorite that you have? What's the favorite car I have? I mean, they're all junk. They're all terrible. I guess I don't know, Eurovan, because I spent so much time with it. It's like, it's like that family member that you don't really like, but you spend so much time with, you gotta like.
Squeaks and knocks.
I love that. Yeah. Chevy Squeak and Knocks. I traded my microwave for 17 Chevy Squeak and Knocks. Oh, Mr. Barrington, you make me laugh.
Oh.
But if I had to pick a favorite, I don't. I like the Eurovan because we spend so much time swapping it to a diesel. It's fun to drive. I enjoy it. It's got lots of problems. Um, I'm sure the Volkswagen bus, when we finish it, will also have lots of problems. We're talking about maybe doing a diesel swap with that as well, or maybe, I can't believe I'm saying this, an EV swap. I know it hurts my heart. But Chevy or Nissan Leafs are crashing by the dozens and are very cheap to buy at auction. So
They're discontinued too.
what's that?
They're discontinued too.
There. So no way EV swap. Yeah, I mean, the van might get 10 feet before I have to plug it in, and that's fine. It's a camper. It's mostly meant to park and sleep in. Um, but I like my Audi is fun. I wish it was back on the road. I've had it stored in my back shed for about 4 years now. The rear brake calipers went on it, and funny, you can't buy rear brake calipers for a car that never existed in North America. Imagine that. But a good friend of mine recently traveled to Germany and picked up calipers for me, and then they were subsequently lost by Air Canada. But they're back. They found them after like 2.5 months. So maybe that'll be back on the road for the summer. Needs a bit of body work. It's a bit of a fun car, but um, I'm interested in the Dodge Polara. I've never owned anything domestic besides the trucks and vans and things. I'm just interested in taking a car with the wife and my nieces and going to get ice cream. So big V8, wasting lots of fuel. That smell of the 1970s coming out of the tailpipe, causing cancer wherever I go. I mean, I already drive diesels, so it's natural for me to want to give everybody cancer. Um, but yeah, so I guess the long and the short of it is I don't like any of them, and they're all terrible. Jason, take it away.
Mike's asking if the Audi is a right-hand drive. Yours is not.
No, mine's a regular. Mine's a proper hand drive.
Left-hand drive.
Yeah, so it's like North American. It was sold in France, so they were driving on the same side of the road as we do. They're not like the British, not like the King. Fuck the King.
God save the king.
Somebody got to save him, because I'm not.
I can't do it from here. That's all I'm saying.
He's royalty. I can't touch him. I'm a peasant.
Right?
Does the Titan drink a lot of fuel? Who has a Titan? Somebody has a Titan?
If you're in the chat and you have a Titan, don't admit it because we're ready to make fun of you for
No, Fox Can't Fix It has a Titan, apparently. I can't unload my Nissan Titan right now. What's wrong with it?
Nissan Leaf. So just let's foreshadow for a second. When I was trying to outweigh the drivetrain for the Yugo when I wanted to do an engine swap, the Leaf was in consideration. Believe it or not, was to find one wrecked and just take everything out of it and plop it into the Yugo and make it an EV Yugo. Guaranteed nobody's done that.
Nothing screams communist disappointment like an EV.
That gets 40 miles on a charge.
Yeah.
Sorry, 40 kilometers.
Ooh.
Even worse.
You can drive right to the gulag and you can stay there.
Do you have a Minecraft server?
Do I have a Minecraft server? Occasionally. Not normally, but occasionally.
What's Minecraft? Nothing wrong with it. My Titan just doesn't need to tow anything anymore.
I was sad that Titan lost, or the Nissan lost, the 5-liter Cummins, but apparently it was terrible. It was terrible on fuel. Just overall terrible, which is unfortunate because I wish there were more diesels in the world.
Well, I'm not really sure why Nissan. Let me scratch that. I'm not really sure why Cummins had to completely redesign or design from scratch a new engine for Nissan.
Engine. Yeah.
Like you could have thrown a 4BT into that thing.
I think again it comes back to the EPA regulations because the 4BT is not certified, right?
No, but they could have.
Yeah.
They could have taken the technology. They could have EPA'd the shit out of it and made it into something that was whatever.
John, you said build an East German EV Trabant. That would be a Trabant powered by a horse. And the horse and the people behind the Trabant steering wheel are all starving to death. That's how that works.
Nissan, yeah. How else would you say it?
Listen,
No, Nissan.
that's okay. The Americans say diesel wrong. Diesel.
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 I drive a diesel.
Or they're the Diesel brothers. Like boys, come on.
Diesel. Diesel is spelled with a Z in Canada.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and everywhere else in the world. Again, the Americans are just being fun. Freedom Eagles. Grant, what are you working on tonight?
You know what I find funny? Is that all of the entire world uses the metric system, except for the USA and maybe one third world country somewhere in
which by the way is communist. One communist third world country.
Sure. So if only one country in the world is using the old system and not metric, why do we still refer to metric as metric and the old system as the standard?
Well, in fairness to us, we also still say horsepower instead of kilowatts. And I still can't wrap my brain around kilowatts. So.
No, you know why? Because the horsepower number is a bigger number.
Right.
Than a kilowatt.
Kilowatts makes sense because of electricity.
Yeah, but it's a smaller number.
Right.
Like if my car makes 75, if my car makes 75 kilowatts, that doesn't sound as good as 125 horsepower.
Right.
So it's a number thing.
Fair enough.
Anyway,
I played my Dreamcast a lot lately. I think it's a good game system. The Dreamcast was a good game system. It was just before its time. And it had a dial-up modem on it instead of an Ethernet connection, and I think that's where it failed. If it had a broadband connection in it, it would have been a lot more popular.
And
anyway.
Don't forget the tape drive.
Oh, the old tape drive. I got a few tape drives kicking around. Does the Cordova have a tape drive or an 8-track?
It's been upgraded.
Neither. It wasn't an option.
It had an 8-track when I bought it.
Okay. And you swapped it out for like a retro radio?
Well, I just went with like a Kenwood half-din.
But aren't you sponsored by Retro Radio?
I was on Dale Truck. But they do. Huh?
Does the Retro Radio give you an audio alarm when you're running out of fuel?
Shut up, Brian. Asshole.
For anybody in the chat who doesn't know, Jason runs out of fuel a lot.
Ran out of fuel.
Sorry.
Once.
It's been fixed.
I've never been able to live it down. Holy frick.
How about the Honda Civic? It revs, the kids run into trees with them. LOL. Yeah, they do. They do crash those Honda Civics a lot. But that might just be because they sell a lot of Honda Civics. Right? It's just a numbers game. You don't see many Bentleys getting in crashes because they don't sell many Bentleys. But I'm sure if they sold 1,000 or 1,000,000 of them, there'd be a lot more Bentley crashes.
We get that a lot in the used car business. People say, "Oh, well, I've heard a lot of bad things about that car." I'm like, well, the only reason why you've heard a lot of bad things is because they make 10 times the number of that car.
While you push them out of the dealership in a car and you demand they push it into H, and you tell them the country the car came from doesn't exist anymore. Remember that episode of The Simpsons? What country did this car come from? It doesn't exist anymore. Put it into H, he says.
Yeah.
As he's pushing. It's like a Yugo, but three wheels. Is Yugoslavia still a country? Is that a thing? No, I didn't think so.
Slovenia,
yeah. Oh, actually, that's funny. We were stopped in Slovenia once and held up by the police until we paid a €700 fine. It was a good day.
For what?
Our bus apparently didn't have the right papers. They were stuck in like 1984. So they pulled us over and demanded papers. I don't know what the communists get hung up on papers for, but none of us had them. And if we wanted to continue, we had to pay €700 cash to continue. But I will point out they did have Skoda GTI police cars.
Well, there you go.
And I feel like I might have funded a new Skoda GTI police car.
Mike Barrington is asking a question for both of us. A serious
Yep.
question is, what is a decent vehicle to buy today? So, as a used car dealer, I would
Don't buy
say
anything for at least 6 months.
2006 to 2012 Ford Fusion or
Yep.
Ford Focus. Two very reliable cars. If you can find one in good condition, they
As
were
long as the
probably
Focus doesn't have that transmission with the issue. Or was that the small? That was the Fiesta.
Fiesta,
Fiesta.
and the later model Focuses.
Right.
So, yeah, if you can find a 06 to 11 Focus or 06 to 12 Fusion, great cars. Super reliable. Um, very, very, very little issues. We would sell lots of those and just never see them come back for stuff. The only
Both
time
because they broke down far enough away that they couldn't get towed back. It's a good
that
system.
too. No, seriously
Mike
though.
actually used to have an Acura TL, and I think he misses that car because that was a beautiful car. It's just like anything here in Newfoundland, it rotted away to nothing.
So I'm referring to those two vehicles as bang for buck. However,
Right.
you can't go wrong with anything Toyota or anything Honda. So
True
Civic or
enough.
Corolla, you're
Yeah.
pretty safe on either of those.
And not to say the wrong thing, but Mike, like myself, is a much larger individual. So I would also say, Mike, if you're looking at it, the Panther platform, if you don't mind spending a lot on fuel, is not a terrible vehicle to drive.
But again, a misconception. It's not a lot on fuel.
Right.
On the highway, if you're using the miles per gallon, on the highway, 25, 27 miles to the gallon for a 4,000-pound car. That's
Right.
not bad.
No, it's not. Right. Better than his brother has a D200 van
Yeah.
with the 318 in it. I'm sure that just drinks the fuel. Yeah, that's the problem, Mike, because a lot of those cars aren't left around here. They rotted long before. I think we have the worst climate, even more so than you in New Brunswick, the worst climate for vehicles.
Well, because you got salt air all around you.
We do.
And
We're salty people. We have
Yeah.
salt air. We put salt on the roads. We put salt on our fish and chips. We
pumping
are salty.
they're pumping the salt out of the ocean and they're pouring it onto the roads, right? Like,
Oh, no, that would make sense. They ship the salt in from Peru because government.
Joanne Meyer has joined the crowd as well. Thanks, Joanne.
Hi, Joanne.
I don't know
When's the next Get Out and Drive day? Have we set a date? Is there a date set?
first
John?
Sunday in October.
Okay, so whatever that is.
Every year.
Every year. That's convenient.
Somebody told me that 2022 and 2023 had the same dates.
Really?
I don't
How's
believe
that possible? Doesn't everything shift over every 7 years? Like it's a secular thing?
That's what they want you to believe. The first Sunday in October this year is the first.
Fox can fix it. Hey, Mike, you should look into the Chevy Equinox. Great car.
There's a character in every crowd.
Oh, I haven't laughed like that since I was a little girl. I have a Christmas gift for you, Jason. I have a Christmas gift that I haven't shipped to you.
Uh-oh.
I made these. They're called window holder 6000s. So when your window regulator fails, you jam them down in the opening, and it holds your window up. I've been using them in the van for the last, but I made enough for you, and enough for Grant, and for something else crappy Grant buys, possibly some other F-body thing from the 70s, and yeah. So I've been abusing the 3D printer a lot. That's what I'm saying. And everybody should buy a 3D printer. That's the other thing. They're fantastic. Who's the comedian here? I actually had 2 Equinoxes. Definitely never again.
So you bought.
I don't want to call you a masochist, but
he bought a second one after owning the first one.
He did. Mike. There was Harambe 1, and the new one is Harambe 2. Mike. Both of them have Harambe stickers on them.
Listen, buddy, don't make the same mistake twice.
3 times.
Just because the first one was decent doesn't mean the second one's going to be better.
Oh, it wasn't. It was terrible.
They didn't make them better.
Peruvian salt has been proven to have 90% more meltiness than Canadian sea salt. I beg to differ.
Fool me thrice. Shame on you.
Thrice, shame on GM. I had a 2001, then got a second 2017. Yeah, I know, Mike. It's sad times.
I will say though that the first gen squeaks and knocks um, made us a lot of money over the years. They were fairly decent. They had a few
Yes,
less.
because you were fixing them every week.
Yeah. But the later models, once they become, I mean, GM will fool you by making a vehicle that runs and drives really, really smooth and, good on gas and all this stuff until they start knocking and squeaking. What's your favorite car
Justin,
racing?
well, Justin's wondering what our favorite car racing game is. I would have to say Need for Speed, Porsche Unleashed from 1999, I think it is, or 2000. That was my first like racing car game. I love that, and I played this shit out of it.
I'd have to say NASCAR 2003, NASCAR Heat 2003.
For the PC.
Yep, from
Yeah, that was
CES.
a good title too.
Yeah.
Speaking of, so segueing there, we're going to use the segue. Frankie Munich's is
I
now a
saw
race car
that.
driver.
In the ARCA series,
What world do we live in?
right, where child TV stars become NASCAR drivers.
Now, in fairness to
What's
him,
up
he
with
has a
that?
very good car collection. He did spend most of his Malcolm in the Middle money on cars. So
He's not stupid.
no, for sure. I mean, he is, but to us, he's not. Meanwhile, my dad is a 2010 Impala with a V6, can't kill it over 300,000 kilometers and rusting away though. Yeah,
And probably still getting about 35 miles to the gallon. Those things were super on fuel.
yeah. I mean, I always look at like what cabs are around. I always use those as like a metering stick to like judge the quality of a vehicle. Like what car can go with absolutely no maintenance and still have 500,000 kilometers on it?
Camry.
And the answer is Honda Civics and
Yeah.
Toyota Corollas.
Yeah. Camrys, yeah.
Camrys, RAV4s, basically anything from the two major Japanese builders.
And not to be confused with Subaru.
Right. Well, you look at what they built during the war. Mitsubishi built airplanes. It was called a Zero. Take that with what you will. Subaru, I don't know, they made tanks or something.
For those who don't know what the Zero is, they were made very famous on Pearl Harbor.
They're a very good one-way airplane.
Yeah.
Fuel tank was very economical.
Yeah, 500 miles out of a full tank of fuel.
One direction.
One direction. The P Zeros were what they were in a P Zero. Sorry, the Zeros were what they used to attack Pearl Harbor in 1941. I think it was.
Yeah.
So
December 6, 1941, 8:00 something in the morning.
Yeah, and that's kind of what made those famous.
Yeah, the Porsche Unleashed is a good like sub variant of the Need for Speed. It was good. It was a lot of fun. Cops chased you in it, so it was a little bit kind of like Grand Theft Auto. But the neat thing about it is that it ran in software mode, so if you didn't have a 3D video card, you could actually still play it. It works way better if you have like a Voodoo 3 or a Voodoo, some sort of nice video card from the era. Anyway, not to digress because we're just talking cars, but yes, Need for Speed, Porsche Unleashed. Zero, the Pintos of the sky. One tap of the gas tank and boom. The key was not to waste that gas.
They were great at taking off. Landing?
Not so much.
They didn't even need
Zeros ran out of gas like Jason.
Shut up, John.
You're even getting it from John. This is amazing.
Oh, you wait.
So what's coming up on the Get Out and Drive podcast? What's can you let slip any of your upcoming guests or upcoming shenanigans?
Well, we're still releasing actually some pretty good interviews from SEMA. We did a lot of those, and between SEMA and PRI,
Okay.
did a lot of interviews. Of course, I didn't make it to PRI, but John did, and so there's some of those videos still coming out. We did a recap of 2022 That video will be popping out here very shortly, and we've
Tomorrow, I
got
would imagine, or Sunday. Your release cycle Sunday, isn't it?
it's on Sundays. I'm not sure if it'll be this Sunday for that episode,
Okay.
but we do have a contest coming up where we're going to be giving away some racing junk T-shirts. So make sure you're listening to the Get Out Drive podcast for that.
It's fun. The guys were in SEMA recently, or at SEMA recently. I've been following. I assume SEMA is probably in the same place as the CES is. I've been following a lot of YouTubers, tech YouTubers who are currently at the Computer Electronics Show, and I assume they're probably in the same building. They have to be. Like how many 200 million square foot buildings are there in Las Vegas? Probably a lot, actually. I don't know. I've never been
Well,
to Vegas.
the Las Vegas Convention Center is like 1.2 million square feet
Right.
over like 5 different buildings.
So I watched a CES video where the guy said it took a half hour to walk from the entrance to the building to the Samsung booth, which was halfway through the building.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, it's a big building. So I'd imagine it's the same facility.
Joanne says that we'll be releasing the recap video this Sunday.
Okay. Yes, it's the same building. Still no parking spots. But they got the Tesla tunnels. They solve all the problems, don't they? Or so I'm told. But yeah, I couldn't get over just the scale of that. Like just even watching your videos and watching the the Consumer Electronics Show, like the scale of booths and the scale of like it's very small niche people that are there, but also gigantic corporations are there, right? You have
Yeah.
I'm sure Tech is there, and I'm sure Ford is there. Like it's amazing that you can get all these different people with all different backgrounds under one roof to talk about their passion, which is
Well, and that's just it. You can't get them under one roof, so they're under 5 or 6 different roofs, right? Like
so, were you guys taken back to any of the hotel rooms? Because in CES, it seems as though like Samsung, Acer, these big companies, they have hotel rooms booked out where they take the different YouTubers back to have discussions. I know it sounds seedy, but it's not. Where they actually bring them back to the room and show them the products and then present them the literature, I guess, and whatnot. Does that happen at CES? Do you go back to like some shady, here's a Tech, here's a,
It didn't happen with us, but I'm sure that there is some of that goes on where
okay.
Where certain aspects or certain members of the media get specific,
So you got to pump your media game up, is what you're saying.
Coverage.
You got to get to that next level.
Yep. Well,
John says if the Teslas are running, well, Teslas don't run, or they do. Depends on how we're charged there.
Yeah, at the convention center, they have what's called the Tesla Loop, and it's an underground tunnel system that they use a fleet of Tesla cars to run within these tunnels to take you from different sections of the convention center. Right. So they'll run those when they're running conventions that are large enough to cover certain areas. So you hop in, it's free. You just hop in, you get in at one hall, it drops you off at another hall, and it just saves you a ton of walking.
I went for a ride with a guy in a white van. It might be the same thing. Did the van say free 10 mil sockets on the side of it?
Free candy.
No. Mechanics 10 mil sockets. Free 10 mil sockets.
Yeah. Free Wi-Fi.
Free Wi-Fi. I'm not stupid. I wouldn't get in the van without seeing the candy first. Yeah, it could be something terrible like a big Turk bar or something. You're like, I don't want that.
Yeah. Bitch, what?
They lowered on prices on Tesla to make more sales. Heard that's on the news. I think, and again, this is me. I'll put my tinfoil hat on. I think this time next year, we're going to be talking about GM purchasing Tesla or somebody purchasing Tesla. I think Tesla's days are numbered.
I don't know. Elon Musk seems to be all about making a dollar.
Yeah.
So to sell the biggest name in EV right now, yeah, he may do that.
He's not making any money with the Teslas. It seems like if you look at their sheets, They're making most of their money off government grants and selling carbon emissions tokens or whatever the EPA has these days. Um, I don't know. I don't. And they always tangle up in the Twitter stuff, and it's like, well, he seems to be more interested in that than running Tesla, and Tesla's suffering because of it. Not to mention the climate at Tesla seems to be somewhat questionable. I don't know. I see somebody swooping in and buying it, whether it's a GM, whether it's a Ford, whether it's a Toyota, or even a Volkswagen. I see somebody swooping in, and buying it pennies on the dollar to bail out. At the end of the day, he'll still be a billionaire. He won't lose any money, but I don't know. I think his interests have changed from Tesla. I think he's
Well,
like the dog in Up, squirrel, and he's off to something else.
but it's
right?
funny that you say that you could see somebody buying Tesla, and I look at it the other way around. I see someone like Tesla buying the likes of GM.
Really?
I see it the other way around.
The only way I would see that is to get the GM quality assurance, like the how they manufacture. Because that's been the big issue with Tesla. The door gaps, the quality of the builds have been questionable. Even in my own friends who purchased Teslas, 14 kilometers, and the whole thing shut down, and they had to rebuild the whole battery system in it. They took very good care of them, but at the same time, it's like, well, I buy a new Toyota. There's a good chance, I'm going to say 99.999% chance I drive off that parking lot and I have no problems, right? That doesn't seem to be the case with Tesla, unlike other electric car manufacturers. I told you before the video started that I think I might be sold on EVs to some extent, especially with the new Silverado that's coming out. I think that's going to be the first real everyman's platform, we'll say, because they're focused on a $40,000 US work truck. That's it's a crew cab with a 6-foot box, 400-mile range, and 600 horsepower. Like that's perfect. That's what EV should be before we start selling them. So, I don't know. Will I be going out and buying one? Definitely not. But I could, warm up to the idea.
Well, we're getting close to 2 hours on the going live here, and I think I'm all set to call it a night. But nevertheless, okay. We covered lots of topics, and not until the end of it we ended up getting stuck in the EV concept of things.
So we always do, of course. So maybe if there's any questions in the comments, maybe we'll answer a few questions and call it a night. 2 hours. What's that in metric? 2 hours.
1.5.
It's past Jason's bedtime. Jason doesn't sleep. He's a robot. He just recharges.
I just got to plug in. That's all.
Right. Thoughts on the Ford Lightning? Terrible. Buy the Silverado.
Terrible. Buy the gas engine.
Yeah, buy the 5.3 that's been proven until the lifters go, and there are other problems with it.
Yeah, I think. I mean, in all honesty, the Ford Lightning is a great concept. They've basically kept the same truck.
Yeah.
With electric drivetrain. But it's hard to.
But it's a car. It's not a truck.
Whatever. It's hard to put to bed the fact that you take a 300-mile range and knock 2/3 of it if you're towing a trailer. That's just ridiculous.
And an empty trailer at that.
Right. So, and I think what happens, I mean, it's all electronics. I think what happens is as soon as you plug in that trailer plug, it reprograms the computer.
Yep. It knows.
It knows that you're plugged in, that you're towing something. We don't know what you're towing. We don't know how heavy it is. We don't know anything about it. But we know you're towing something. So all of a sudden, boom, you've got 100 miles of range.
So on that note, a friend of mine's father made a really good point. He said, well, why don't we in the future, when we build trailers, have batteries in the trailer? So that when you plug the trailer in, you get the range to pull the trailer. I was like, other than it would make trailers very expensive, it makes sense.
But it's not just expense; it's the weight as well.
Right.
Right. So
you have to find that balance.
You take an electric vehicle that now weighs 30% more than its gas counterpart, because of the batteries. Then you plug in a trailer that has batteries and weight. Like that's one of the things that apparently with this new Tesla semi, they're not telling you the weight of the
Right.
semi truck.
Yeah.
We know that in Canada, max weight on a truck I think is 100,000 pounds.
It is.
Truck
Yeah.
and trailer.
Yeah.
And in the U.S., I think it's 80,000 pounds.
So if the truck is already 40,000 pounds, it means you can
Then
only
you don't
haul
have much of a
40,000
payload.
pounds. Yep.
So these trucks also don't have sleepers.
Right.
They're
You
day
watched
cab,
the same video I did, didn't you?
probably. So the idea behind the whole thing is, if you want to convert the world to EV, fine, but make the EV technology much better than it is today.
100%. And I think hybrid technology is the answer to that short-term
Absolutely.
goal.
I'm not against, and I've said this in the Car Guy and Six Fan show. I've said it on the Get Out and Drive podcast. I'm not against EV. I'm against the propaganda that's being forced down our throat to switch to EV in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
We're not ready.
I always go back to the diesel electric locomotive. We've been using them for almost 80 years. They're a proven platform. Why can't I buy my Ford Lightning with a 3-cylinder diesel generator that charges the batteries and powers the electric motors?
Right.
For long range. Right?
Yep.
Very small emissions. Don't tax the generator very much. You know, you got that frunk there anyway, so you might as well put a 3-cylinder diesel generator in the frunk. It's not like there's not space for it. And it's best of both worlds.
So the bandit's asking me what I think of the new Hummer EV. I absolutely hate it.
Really?
I do.
Why?
Mostly, number one, because it's overpriced.
Well, yes.
B, crab walk means nothing. I don't give a shit about crab walk. It's stupid.
Yeah.
But it's impractical. It's a big, overweight, oversized machine that they've made EV to satisfy the left-wing EV big machine gurus. It's not practical.
But 1,000 horsepower. So
Don't matter.
0 to 60 in like 2.5 seconds.
It don't matter. It's impractical. It's got a 4-foot box on it.
But you know, this one could argue, and not, again, I'm not being the devil's advocate here, but the soccer mom who drives the extended XLT, whatever Ford or Chev SUV, it's the same thing. They're driving this gigantic vehicle with one person in it, only because they can say, "Hey, look at me! I have a gigantic vehicle."
Yeah, and I paid $100,000 for it.
Exactly.
With the exception of the EV Hummer, which you just paid $250 because it only books for $110, and all the dealers are overpricing them.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, fast as hell,
question.
fine. I'm okay with fast as hell, but you know what?
There was a question in here that I wanted to answer before we go. What's my oldest working vintage PC? My Commodore PET from 1976. Best low maintenance car for a teenage driver. Don't get them a bike. They'll save yourself so much money on insurance. But if you have to buy them a car, I don't know, Corolla, Civic, they're pretty. I would even say the Volkswagen Golf, like a 2.5 liter Volkswagen 5-cylinder Volkswagen Golf. They're fairly indestructible. They won't get in a lot of trouble with them. If you live in Canada, they'll rattle long before the engine blows up.
Tough little engines, though, those 2.5s.
Oh, they're great. Well, it's half a Lamborghini Huracan or whatever Lamborghini. What was the Lamborghini? Gallardo. It's half a Gallardo engine. What else we got? Nice, a PET. Yes, PETs are nice. Ford Lightning runs out of charge by powering the trailer lights. Yes, they use, a little known fact, they use gigantic incandescent light bulbs. That's why it runs out of range. Ford Lightning is back. Yeah, best low maintenance car. We already answered that. Electric Hummer. It's an adult toy.
Wow,
I mean, you're not wrong.
Change the direction of that conversation real quick, didn't it?
But when you say adult toy, what kind of toy are we referring to?
He's referring to marital aids.
Yes. Actually, did you watch the video of Hoovy take one for a test drive? where he
No.
took the turn and all the water fell out of the roof behind him, and he didn't notice. It was only until after people commented in the comments, "Hey, did you see that water that flew by your head?" Because the T-tops apparently leak really bad on them. Wow, GM with leaky T-tops. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Bring back the 70s.
Yep. It's old Trans Am. Good times. Jason, I have an EV bike. Well, that's good for you. I'm fat and don't use a bike. Clearly.
An EV bike is about the only bike I probably would use, one that drives it for me.
Fair enough, until you fall off it or burst into flames and you cook on it. Anyway, any other questions before we cancel? We got 5 minutes left.
Bandit says, have a great weekend, guys. Bandit, thanks for jumping in here. Happy birthday again.
Have a great weekend. If you guys want to get some cool swag from Olde Carr guy, I'm sure he has some sort of website you can go to get this cool shirt like I have. I also have the red-green limited edition plaid on, which apparently I think they're putting another run out in the next couple of weeks. So if you like red-green like I do, pick up a plaid. The only thing that runs in my family is the heart of this heart disease. So here in Newfoundland, we have a very terrible race every year. It's the short man, fat man race, and it's all downhill. So, John, you're welcome to come someday and participate in that race.
Oh, shoot. He may be fat, but he's taller than you think.
Oh, yeah? It's hard to tell in the videos.
I'm sorry, John. I didn't mean that.
Are you getting help with the swap in the garage? Yeah, is Grant coming up to give you a hand, or is he staying in Kansas, staying far away from the Tioga?
No, he's not going to be commuting for this one. No.
No? If only he had an economical communist/Japanese car to drive back and forth.
Right. I know where you can find one.
Exactly. I have it asked, remember the show Due South? Yeah, of course. It's a great Canadian show. I'm pretty sure it's on Prime or one of those platforms now. But the problem with Due South is that the Royal Canadian Mounted Police don't wear their red uniforms all the time.
No,
like they never have. They're dress uniforms. It's like you don't see the boys out in the battlefield wearing their dress uniforms when they're in the army. They wear fatigues, and the same thing with our Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They wear just regular police clothes. They don't wear the big red outfit with the funny hat all the time.
Tons of anarchy. Yeah.
Tons of anarchy? Is that a fat joke? Because I'm offended if it is. It's like a fat biker gang. Tons of anarchy instead of sons of anarchy. I get it. It's a fat joke.
We all wear plaid and drive scooters.
And sidecars. There has to be a sidecar for the really fat people.
Well, look, that's all I have for tonight.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for joining us. This has been a hoot. If you haven't already subscribed to the Everything is Broken Garage channel or the Get Out and Drive podcast or the Olde Carr Guy channel, you should definitely do it. If you haven't, I don't know why you're here, because how would you have found out about this? But okay.
Yeah, YouTube's not pushing out the 10 subscriber or the 10 view count here.
Yeah. We're trending on YouTube with 6 viewers.
Yeah. Woohoo! You'll wake up tomorrow with 1 million subscribers.
I'd cry because I have no content.
Anyways, thanks, John and Joanne from the Get Out.
Yes, thanks guys for being in the chat. Thanks for the crossover of retro tech and cars. I think there's a lot of similarities between the two, so I think that's what I like, being that bridge. So that's kind of cool. Thanks to Mike for providing comedy relief, as he always does. Yeah, so I'll leave it to you to close the the live stream.
Why me? It's your channel.
I don't know, because I'm not Grant, and I don't want to say to all my straight six fans out there.
For all my straight white six fans out there. No, I mean, yeah. I didn't mean that. I'll end this live stream with the same way I end every live stream or every video, is stay focused on the windshield, not the rear view mirror. All right, guys, have fun. We'll see you next time.